Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Jay's Recipe for Success. I'm your host, Lori Salarulo, and I am the proud CEO and president of Junior Achievement of South Florida. You know, we started this podcast video show about a year ago, and I have had the privilege of meeting with new people, being with some friends like today who I've known for a very long time, but really getting to know them as leaders and as people. And that was one of the reasons we started this. We wanted to bring this out to the general audience, but also to our students. You know, as you may know, Junior Achievement, our mission is focused around workforce readiness, entrepreneurship, and financial literacy. And our students have the opportunity to learn from each of our guests. So they will get to see this video today as well. So anyway, without further ado, I cannot wait to introduce a longtime friend. Our daughters went to school together, so that goes to show you they're in their 20s now. We won't say where in their 20s. And so I would love to bring my guest today, Greg Martin, who is the principal and managing director of Avison Young. And good morning, my friend.
Good morning. How are you? Nice to see you.
You too. It is great to see you. Always great to see you and Caroline around and the family and everybody, and just love watching you all, your family.
Well, thank you. Well, we're not going to start this without me saying happy birthday to you. So I hope you had a wonderful day with Sam and Patrick and everybody. And
I did.
Glad to see we keep rocking and rolling. So
absolutely, you got it right. What's the other alternative? I did a little video yesterday. I did take most of the day off and went to the spa with a friend. And so after she left, I was hanging by the pool. And I did a little video. And I said, birthdays are such a great time to reflect, right? Not only on the past year, but, kind of sometimes on life and where we are, some of the choices we made that went really well and some of the choices that we made that didn't go really well, and how we get past those and all that. And then I said, now don't think that because I'm doing this mushy little video that I'm done. Right. Because I got a lot more to do and a lot more people to impact and a lot more people to meet. So I feel like I'm just getting started. But thank you. So I know a little bit about you and obviously through the years about you and your family, but I would really love our audience to get to know a little bit about you. Tell us, first of all, a little bit about Avison Young. And then how did you end up in that field? Like, what were a couple of things that led you to this?
No, great question. So first of all, Avison Young is a worldwide commercial real estate brokerage company. So I am a commercial real estate broker, which means I transact in the commercial industry. My team and I really represent institutional owners of large office properties. You think about buildings in downtown Fort Lauderdale and out in Cypress Creek and folks, usually where the lawyers are and the corporate America is. And so our job is to represent those owners who own those buildings in the transactions for the tenants that come in and fill it up. Avison Young is a very rapidly growing company. I joined it 10 years ago. We currently have 125 offices in 15 different countries. And interestingly enough, we're really making a move towards what I would call data analytics and strategy for real estate, not just transactions. And so as we see other industries evolve, the commercial real estate business is starting to evolve as well. And so I've had to learn a whole lot new language and some new tools in order to do that. But that's who I work for. I have a great team of three folks that we do our business together and service our clients. You asked a great question. How did I get here? Lori, you've known me long enough. I'll let you know, when I got out of school, I was in the special event planning business.
I did not know that.
I was putting on concerts and festivals in South Florida. I worked for the boat show. I worked for the city of Fort Lauderdale, and I really ran their special events department. So 4th of July concerts and the Starlight musicals downtown and Oktoberfest and all these types of things. So I came from very much of a more marketing and kind of entertainment. I still do some charity golf tournaments and enjoy doing those things. But I've always found that the commercial real estate business, nobody really, when you're 6, you don't say you want to be a commercial real estate broker. But so we're made up of a lot of folks with a lot of different backgrounds and inclinations, and usually opportunity presents itself. And I was fortunate enough that in 1990, I'll say 2, I think it was, a good friend of mine that I was playing beach volleyball with said, hey, you ought to get into the business. And it's a hard business. It's a straight commission business. There's no salary. At the time, Catherine and I didn't have any children. And so it was a good time for me to make that type of a leap. And it's been a great career for me over the last, almost 30 years.
Yeah. Wow. It is interesting. I always ask this question because I think that sometimes.
Lori, you froze up on me. Hey, Lori, you froze up on me, Lori. I'm sorry, I didn't get your question.
Okay. So I was can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, it was doing some recalibrating or something. And so I think that people often think, our students often think that we started where we are, right? That we got here, we knew what we wanted to do, and we got here. Because they don't know, right, the story. And so often it's not a straight path. And so I love hearing that. And I did not know you were in the special events.
Oh, yeah. I'm still a closet wedding planner, if you will. So, no, that's a really good point. And, we can go to us a little bit. Our children are getting that age where they're starting their first jobs. And so 2 of mine have started that. And I continue to tell them this isn't the last job you're going to have. And there's lots to learn. And once again, I'm a believer that they're all building blocks. And we're going to find our way by adding on top of those building blocks to a place of happiness and what it is that we're seeking, and which is the ultimate goal, right? And but yeah, know that that entry level job is not going to be your last one. And if you're in a specific industry and it doesn't move you, you can take those skill sets and move them to the next opportunity. It's just
exactly.
Minded.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I think special events marketing, those skill sets, I'm curious because, we teach workforce readiness. And so I talk often about those transferable skills. I was in the corporate world. I was in finance. Yeah. How did I end up, right, in nonprofit, in event planning and raising money and writing grants and all of that? It was the skill set that I had from one, right, I was able to apply to the other. What were some of those skill sets? Because as you said, it's a very different industry, very different career. What were some of those skill sets from the event planning that you brought to this?
I think every special event is its own project, right? I mean, it's got a start, a middle, and an end. And I would tell you that every real estate transaction is the same thing. And each one will bring different challenges to the table. In special events, it's sponsorships or weather or participants or just overall culture of that. And in our transactions, everything from the tenant move in to the credit history, whatever. But I think what I liked about it is that, every transaction that I do is going to be a little different. And I get to bring a little something different to each one to help it succeed and add value to the asset, which is our ultimate goal. And the special events were the same way. We would always try to make them a little bit different the next time. And whether it was an art show or a concert, you were bringing something different to the table. So I think the other thing too is I'm a pretty good multitasker, and so this when you're doing special events, you've got a lot of different irons in the fire. We represent a lot of buildings in the marketplace right now. We're able to make sure that we stay on top of all the transactions that we're engaged with right now.
So you've said the word transactions several times just in the short time that we've been here. And it's really interesting because in our business, right, in my business, we don't think about donations as transactions, right? Because we want them to continue. We want them to be recurring. And I'm sure that in some way you want your customers, right, as they go on to do your business. Talk about the relationship side, right, of what you do, because I think that's so important too.
Another great question. The commercial real estate business is actually made up of a variety of different service lines. Okay, so what we do when I talk about representing institutional owners, these folks own these buildings for a long time, They're usually 5 to 7 to 10 year holds. So when we are hired or engaged, we are starting a new relationship that we're going to work as their adversary to represent their building and to defend their interests and support their interests with the users that come about. And so transaction is a good word. I use the word transactions because that's how we're compensated. A little bit of a just to throw out there. But once we do a deal, those tenants are our neighbors, and they're in the building. We see them tomorrow, and then we're on the phone with that client the next day about the next transaction. So we really do get into an integrated. I use the word adversary relationship with our owners because the ultimate goal is to increase value of these assets so that they can get a return on their investment. And so, I've had clients that I've been working with for 10, 15 years. I'm fortunate. I work with one of the very prominent real estate companies in town, Stiles Corporation. I've known them forever and ever. And they own a building in downtown Fort Lauderdale that my team represents them on with their other partners. And so they've got partners that they have to relate to. But those relationships are very, very important to us. And I think that to your point, we have to continue to nurture them. I talk about the business in 3 tranches. We have to procure new business, we have to execute the business that we have, and we have to retain the business that we have. And so we're constantly in that cycle of what's a new opportunity, how do we take care of what we're in the middle of, and how do we maintain those relationships on the long run, because we want to make sure we're doing what's right for them. I'll mention it real quick. COVID was a real challenge for that, right? We spent a lot of time on that retention side because there were not the transactions that we were used to. That volume went down. And it was a real hard time to try to get new business because nobody knew what was going on. So we spent a lot of time on the retention side to make sure our clients were aware of what was happening and were informed about what's happening in the market and knew what the tenants in the building were doing. And so those 3 cycles come into different play all the time.
Yeah. All right. Communication, right? And everything, all relationships that we have is so critical. And I love that, ours is basically the same thing: procure, activate, or execute, right? And retain those donors. And so customer service, right? How we treat our customers is so important. I think, I know your kids, of course, with Carolyn being in school with Samantha, and you just mentioned beach volleyball. I know that you're a sports family, volleyball in particular, and being a parent. I think that somebody asked a question this morning on a call that I was on, and they said, would you equate being a parent to being a leader? And so I ask you that question. Did parenting prepare you for leadership? Did it help you be a better leader? Did being a leader help you be a better parent?
I'm going to say yes, and some of that's me. You need to kind of go to who I am. Your comment's right on. Look, as you remember, I coached all the youth soccer and basketball and everything else. But I think that I'm a big fan of leadership. I lead a team of 4 here, and I'm a big fan of teams. I would tell you one of my ingredients to success is to surround yourself with good people and have a great team, and that's both in life and in work. But I think not everybody is going to have the best day. We can't all go out and score 25 points. And so, but the team's got to pick each other up. And so I think a leader has to be there in order to help all the players or all the members of the team, operate at their best. And quite frankly, in parenting, sometimes our family isn't always operating at its best. And so as a parent, I'm sorry. We have to go in and try to manage the situation to make sure that we're all going in the right direction. And we have some great team mantras in my family. We refer to ourselves as the Martin life, and I think so far it's funny to hear my words come back to me from my adult children now, and see all that. But yes, no, I think leadership and parenting. Coaching, all those types of opportunities help develop the skills to keep moving forward and to keep progressing in life.
Yeah, so important. And I think you're right, and one of the things that I think, and of course I was not in your home with you, but I observed and have been with you and Catherine so often. One thing that always was clear to me, and I think this does roll over into leadership as well, is that consistency between you, number one, and being on the same page and being very clear, right, about the expectations with your children. That just from observation. Mm-hmm. And I think that's so important in leadership.
No, look, everybody needs to kind of know where the buck stops, I guess. And, Catherine and I, we very much, look, our relationship was the number one relationship in the house, and we were always on the same page. And what you guys don't know is that I have very strong-willed children. They're intelligent and competitive, and they gave it a good shot. But I think it was always important to us to make sure that we very much supported each other, stayed on the same page, and to your point, stayed consistent. In the leadership role at work, I have to do the same thing, and look, it's my work family, and they need consistency from me as well. Particularly once again, in a commission only income environment, we have to maintain our consistency to make sure that we can feel good about the income we're going to generate as we go forward during the year so that we can pay bills and buy Christmas presents. I've kind of made a big jump there, but there is the desire to maintain kind of that A, the leadership role, and then B, the consistency on how we deliver just kind of the rules of the game.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And we talk about those clear expectations, right? And it's the same thing with our kids as we go through our programs, right? Making sure that we're our entrepreneurship kids, they're working in teams, very much like you are, right? So we need to make sure that they're communicating with each other, teaching them how to collaborate, how to be there for each other if one person, right, is struggling. And I see that on my team as well. When someone needs us, we're there for them. And that makes a great team. So you mentioned this very briefly, but the commercial real estate business absolutely took a hit, right, during COVID. But it seems like things are bouncing back. And so you talked a little bit about what you did to maintain, stay in touch with your relationships, right? Communicate with them. How did you get your people through that, right? Because I have to imagine, I know my team, they're burnt out, they're emotional, they're tired. We worked our butts off to get through this time, to pivot. I hate that word, but no other word, right? Adapt to the new thing, be flexible, come up with new ways to do things. How did you do that in your business?
First of all, to the point that yes, the business took a significant hit, and depending on what industry you were in, it was the varying degrees of that. I'll let you know that my friends that are in the industrial business and distribution, they did very well because we saw high demand there. Folks that are engaged in hotels, they just fell off. Well, you can imagine we're in the office leasing business. Nobody wanted to come to the office. We were walking into empty offices, or we were talking to people who were vacating their offices and what can they do and what can come back. Look, my team is made up of three great individuals and varying families, situations, and everything else. And look, I think I'm a believer of talk the talk and walk the walk. And so we continued to stay in our office. We were very respectful of each other as it related to social distancing and just being considerate of if you didn't feel good and where it came. But we just had to set an example. And I think the other thing was the communication. We couldn't communicate enough. This was a time where a lot of people got in their head and were overthinking things. And I think what was important to make sure for my team that I was always available for them to have those conversations, and that I was going to continue to trudge through this downtime and work and make it happen. So look, our revenues were off about 40% in 2020. And I'll tell you that we're back to 2019 levels today. So we're feeling good. We thought a lot of people were going to be back in the office by September. The Delta variant has pushed that back a little bit, but our transaction world, and it actually made our team closer, to be honest. I think, going through something like this, whether it's a family, a team, a group, adversity can either tear you apart or bring you back closer together. And I feel very fortunate to have a great, loyal team that continues to work well together and going that way. But that's how I did it. I tried to set the example and tried to be the first guy in the office, or at least there, and present to make sure we could do it, and then provide all the information we needed to provide. The other thing is we're armed with information so that we can communicate to our clients. And so I had to help provide some of that information and some of those insights.
I love it. You mentioned marketing, and I know you said that you used to be in marketing with the event planning, all that. And of course, we love your person who does some marketing, I think, for Avison Young. I believe her name is Amy. Yes, we love her. And she, as you know, was very involved in JA, actually served as our chair about 3 years ago, I guess it was. And I miss her.
Shout out to Amy. She's now overseeing like the Southeast. So she's continuing to rise in her career and kind of leaving us South Florida folks. But Amy is a tremendous resource and a very dear friend. And she's been great for me and my team as we've evolved in our business and see where things go. So big shout out to Amy. I think she's watching. So
I bet she is. Hi, Amy. And so you talked about marketing and branding, right? So important. You talked about keeping communication open, nurturing the relationships. What did you do as far as marketing and branding? I come from the world of advertising. And during that recession, when I was in that field, right? When we went through that, many companies stopped advertising, stopped marketing, which in my opinion, probably we should be doing the reverse, right? And I think we're seeing that today. How did you, or what was your feeling and your attitude around that? And did you continue it? Did it help?
Absolutely. So it's a little bit of my nature, Lori, but we leaned into it. And there were two things that had to happen. Number one, we immediately digitized most of our marketing things. Let's think about office space. Traditionally, what happens, someone meets you in the building and you take them upstairs and you walk them through it. By the way, the residential real estate world did the exact same thing. Next thing you know, we're taking videos and creating a variety of tools so that a real estate director who isn't in South Florida could at least preliminarily see space. So we tried to bridge that gap of the distance, A, for our owners so that they could see what the condition of the building and the vacancies, and then B, for potential new users who weren't going to travel. They weren't going to get on a plane and come down. And so we were able to send them videos of the spaces and to go that route. And so that's how we continue to market our buildings. I think the other thing was, our social media posts really increased, and whether it was primarily LinkedIn, I think is where we spent a lot of time, and just email distributions to distribute that information. I hosted a couple of programs like this for clients to talk about, let them know they're not the only ones that only have 15% of their population in the building, and talk about where we were going forward. So we were on a variety of levels that we were doing that. And then I'll take it all the way down to a simple one, great vendor in town. We sent a bunch of key lime cakes to all of our most of my clients are out of town. So they're in the winter, they were stuck in a northern city, whether it was cold, they were stuck inside, a little key lime cake shows up on the front porch and reminds them that they got some assets in Florida and that we're still thinking about them. And so I think there was a variety of marketing tools that we used during this time frame to just stay in front of folks.
Yeah, and what I heard in that conversation was about being adaptable, right, and changing, using the tools to deliver your message, your business, your services, right, in a different way. And then, of course, showing appreciation and making people feel special is so important today, I think. It is one of our values at JA, deliver the wow, right? Because we know that people can choose hundreds, right? In our case, thousands of nonprofits to align with, to give their money to give their time to. What makes JA stand out, right? What makes Avison Young stand out? And I think that's so important. What makes you stand out? Because you're so much, right, of that brand. So I couldn't agree with you more. I want to talk for a second about the community, right? So at least here in South Florida, or around where all of the other offices are, how does Avison Young as a company embrace the community, get involved in the community, whether it's people on boards, right, from your organization, being involved in golf tournaments, as you said, the alliance, I have to imagine there's some involvement maybe with a chamber or alliance. Talk a little bit about that and the importance of that for a company.
It's actually a two-folded question, because I mentioned again that we're straight commission salespeople, and this is kind of for everybody out there to understand how the industry is structured. And so we are all set up basically as independent contractors, right? So there's two answers to your question. Number one is Avison Young, right? And Avison Young is very much engaged. As a matter of fact, next week, October 6th, the entire company is shutting down across the world, and we call it a day of giving. And so it's a day where we will go out into the community. Now, granted, COVID has created some new challenges as it relates to that. But we're actually going to do a program for the Humane Society where we're hosting basically an employee puppy party at a dog park. It's a way to get the employees. It's an outdoor venue, so we can take care of some of those types of things. People that are still managing, COVID issues and social distancing. And it's also just a good feel good to get the employees together, because it's hard to do that right now. No one's been able to do those types of things. So the company has a worldwide, a national scope. Everyone kind of picks their own things. We've done a variety of different ones. We came to Junior Achievement a few years ago and ran kind of one of those sessions. Actually, one of my favorites.
We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, there you go. And then, independently, and this, I and my family feel a great responsibility to do that. And one of my ingredients is to give back. And I've been engaged with everything from Taylor's Closet to our schools to NAP, which is the industry association. And so I'm a believer that you have to participate in your industry sector. You need to communicate in the business sector and the things that are tied to your business, but you also have to find something that you're passionate about, right? And something that just fulfills you. And I think that's where a lot of the coaching and a lot of the contributions to the schools with the kids, and a lot of the Catherine does literacy programs. Jack and Jill is a charity that we spend a lot of energy and resources with. But I think, and once again, ingredients, one of my top 5 is we have to give back, and whether it's of time or of talent or of experience or of resources, we individually have to do that. Our team has to do that. And then our company has to do that. And so it's been integrated into my business philosophy. We've done special cocktail parties with real estate professionals to benefit Make-A-Wish and a variety of different charities over the years. So we're all about that. And I think it's important to everyone.
I love hearing that. So I've got a long list of ingredients here. And so I'm going to read some of them back, and then I'm going to ask you to share your main ingredient with us. Okay. And so some of the things that I pulled out of our conversation was, learning, growing, right? And constantly staying on top of things. I also heard you talk about the building blocks, and I love that. And especially for our young people, right? Starting that foundation, right? And we have to start young and then building on them, right? Building on their experiences, building on their life, and same thing for us, building on those building blocks, whether it's our business or individually. Something that differentiates, right? You talked about each transaction being unique. Right. And so how do you treat each transaction uniquely, just like you would treat each person differently? You talked about relationships, nurturing them, right? Making sure that we're making people feel special and appreciated. Setting in.
I lost you again, Lori. I'm sorry. I'm assuming you're going to come back. Look,
almost died there. No, we're back.
okay.
So,
All right.
for some reason, I've never had Wi-Fi problems, but today I guess we're having them. So that last two ingredients were give back and find your passion. So I ask you, Greg Martin, what is your main ingredient in your recipe for success?
So I'm going to have to hit you with two, okay? Because that's how
everybody wants to cheat and give me more than one.
It's hard to define one. Look, I'm a big believer in maintaining a life balance, right? I think in some of the things that people can get a little off balance, and I think that's COVID's had people think about it, and that's across the board. That's in work, and that's in family, and fitness, and faith, and fun. You know, we got to have a little fun in life, and I've been fortunate enough. Our family's been very blessed, and been able to do a lot of those things. And I think it's just important to encourage people to just, maintain a balance. And it's probably a little bit more of just a life ingredient than everything else. But I really think one of the things that I try to bring to the table and I try to share is I'm a believer in that other 2%. If you can make the water boil, invest in it, take that next step. Growing up, I was taught to shoot more free throws than anybody else, and I'd be a good free throw shooter. You work a little bit harder than everybody else, and that little 2% is going to make a big difference. When you're going to host a puppy party, you make sure that you have everything that you need, and you make it just a little bit better for those employees so that it's a little bit more appreciative. And there are little things that we can all do that can have a big difference in everything from our transactions to just our impressions on people and to the marketing of folks. Yes. I mentioned the key lime cake. I can't tell you the response I got from that. And it wasn't expensive, and it had nothing to do with real estate, but it was just 2% more. And so I would encourage, once again, students that are out there, or anyone that's out there, I'm sorry, you just give 2% more and you're going to really see those returns. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, that's the boiling point. And, at 99 degrees, water doesn't boil. At 101 degrees, water boils, and it's a totally different thing that you have going on. And if you will put in that 2%, you get a totally different return. And so that, I think, is probably one of my main ingredients. And, it's fun. I made this list before our conversation, and it wasn't on the list. I just came up with that one. But that's what I want to share with the folks, that I think that extra effort always pays off. And don't be afraid to fail, man. You got to give yourself the right to make some mistakes and step back up. So that's the third one. All right. So I overdid my final ingredient, if you will. So.
There we go. Oh, I don't know what's going on today with that, but I love that, and I did hear it. So, all right. So
okay, good. You did. I didn't. Did I have to say that again? Oh my goodness.
No, I got it all. So you cheated, though. You gave me 3 main ingredients.
I did. I cheated. I absolutely cheated. I'm sorry.
I love that. That's one thing about you. You always get more. You always give more than people ask for, right? The 2%. That's it. So I heard it, and I love it, right? Find that life balance, have fun. The second one was give that 2% more. I really love that water boiling. I did not know that. I love that. So I learned something new today. And don't be afraid to fail. And I love those. And Greg Martin, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm so glad that everyone got a chance to know you a little bit. I have so enjoyed knowing you and your family all these years. And really love when we run into each other out and about in the community. And so I'm glad everyone's well, and glad that you're doing well and the business is rebounding. I love when I hear that from our guests. So thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations on all your success. You've done a great job at Junior Achievement.
Thank you.
Many of my friends that are on the board there, we just can't continue to talk about how great a job you're doing. So, and this was fun. This was great. So
good.
As always, Lori, I'm here to help you in any way that I can. So.
Thank you, Greg. Same here. Likewise, right? And that's what it's all about, that give and take and connecting each other and helping and serving, right, each other in our community. So thanks, everyone, for watching. We really appreciate you, Greg, and have an amazing day. And let's get cooking.
All right.